All right, is it better to buy in the summer or the winter in North Idaho? Well, the answer to that is it depends. We have pros and cons of buying a house in North Idaho in the winter, and we're going to share them with you right now. Hey, what's going on, guys? Conor, Hammons here. We got Cody and Lexi in the building, and we're going to be running down all the pros and cons of buying a home in North Idaho in the winter. We do videos like this all year round about what it's like to work, live, and play here in North Idaho. And if you like that type of content, if you're looking to move here, make sure you subscribe and tap that bell, which notifies you every time we get together to do a new video and share our knowledge about the area. We're full-time real estate agents. We work with a ton of clients all year round. A lot of them are relocation clients, so we specialize in this. So if you're interested in working with us or us helping you navigate the market, make sure to reach out. Don't forget to call, text, or email us right here, and we can help you find the perfect spot for you in North Idaho. Again, we get this question all the time, is winter a good time to buy up here? Well, there's a lot of pros and there's a lot of cons. So it's up for you to decide. Ultimately, we're going to run down these lists and let you know what we think about them. So there's cons and pros and cons in both sides for inspection. So we're going to go down cons first, our list about what's not great about buying in the winter, and then we'll run pros after that. So Lex, you want to kick it off with one con?
Yeah. So typically when you have a house under contract, you have a certain number of days to do a home inspection, where you choose a home inspector and they come and basically run through all the major systems of the house. They usually climb up on the roof. They check for damaged shingles. They check for, just the age of the roof and things like that. And obviously if there is, 6 inches of snow on the roof, they're not getting up there and they're not going to be able to see if there is roof damage. So I would say that is a con.
Roof inspections.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And I would note too, it's like a lot of times people, in your property condition report, you're supposed to, you mark the age of the roof if you know. A lot of people don't know the age of the roof.
Right.
But you can, your inspector, by looking and being up there and using the eye test, you can get a good feel for condition.
Mm-hmm.
And that unfortunately doesn't always happen.
Right.
When
A lot
snow
can be hidden under, several inches of snow. So that's definitely one on the inspection that I always, let people know if we don't know the age of the roof. If you know the house is 3 years old, it's probably not as big of a deal.
Yeah.
Yes.
So another big one is landscaping. So when, in North Idaho, a lot of times people have a lot of really pretty landscaping, and when you've got a foot of snow on the ground, you can't see whether it's good or bad.
Right.
So a lot of times, the big one that I've heard a lot of is like garbage in yards and stuff like that, or like dog poop type stuff, where people just don't take care of those things, and there's a foot of snow and then the spring comes along and people are like,
surprise,
I've got to take like 4 trips to the dump just to get rid of all this stuff. So that's
piles of pine needles and leaves that are covered in snow.
So that's a big one. But then also as a seller, you might have beautiful landscaping and you can't show it off. Yeah. So whether you have fountains and gardens and beautiful landscaping, especially like springtime when your trees are in bloom and things like that, in the wintertime, none of that stuff shines. So what I always recommend to sellers is make sure you have photos from the spring or summer of your landscaping if it's something to show off, so we can add that to your listing during the winter time. But that's definitely a con, kind of on both sides, and it can go either way.
Yeah. And I'll run, you can't, one of the things the inspector will do in a home inspection typically is test the AC unit. So obviously your furnace, hot water heater. But if it's below a certain temperature, which it most of the time is through the winter till later in the spring, they can't turn the AC unit on, because it could make it fail, and they can't do that liability. So you're going off of what the seller has reported as if it's working or not. And really, to be honest, once spring comes and you turn it on, if it doesn't work or something's wrong with it, it's really hard to go back and prove that it wasn't working previously. So I've definitely dealt with this before, where AC unit might not be working come summer when it was said that it was. One way to combat that is, putting a home warranty in place. But it's definitely a tough thing in the winter and a con because you can't test it.
And one of the things that we sometimes can advise sellers is before they list to have it serviced. So there's a record that, gives the buyer a peace of mind that a company came out, serviced your furnace and your AC unit in say September,
Yep.
so that even though they can't test it, they've got record that, you acted in good faith. But real quick, I was going to say the sprinklers are the same thing.
Yes, sprinklers.
Because we have our systems blown out in usually October. So anytime after that, before April, May, there's no way to guarantee that there's not leaks or, that they're functioning well. So.
And it's almost a guarantee you're going to have to fix some sprinkler heads in the spring.
And it's something we've
No matter
brought
what.
it up on several other videos, but just making sure you're winterizing things this time of year.
Yeah.
Whether it's sprinkler systems or boats is a big one. A lot of people come here and the first thing they do is buy a boat, and then they have no idea what that goes with that. So like winterizing your boat, stuff like that. So that's
Frost free, take your sprinkler or your hoses off.
Take the hoses off, and then frost-free hose bibs. Most homes have them if they were built recently, but if you buy an older home, that might be something you need to upgrade to.
Do you want to jump into a little bit like rural roads or driveways and
there are
con?
definitely homes that you can't get to in the winter very well, especially if the sellers have moved out and so they're not maintaining that driveway. I have 4-wheel drive and a big vehicle, and I've been in some sketchy situations where you're going up a mountain road and it's not plowed and it's one lane and someone's coming down, and it can get a little dicey. So there are homes you just can't see in the winter.
even in like neighborhoods that are in town, I mean, that happens if somebody's not living in the house. Snowplows, when they go through, they're pushing berms up against the house, and so getting into a driveway, even in town, if somebody's not living there, it can be.
If it's a vacant listing and no one has shoveled a way through, like make sure you're wearing boots.
For my
make sure you're wearing boots. Don't wear open-toed shoes to come see houses.
Flip-flops,
No
even
flip-flops.
though we have an agent here that wears flip-flops every day.
So that's a con. And then I will just say, like Cody and I were talking about it earlier, just getting here in the winter is a little bit harder. You're dealing with holiday travel. So I guess that could be seen as a con in buying in the winter here.
Yeah.
But let's flip that, because there are a lot of pros to buying in the wintertime in Coeur d'Alene or all of North Idaho. So I'll kick it off with there's less competition. So the really great thing about being a buyer in the winter is that if if something's on the market, if a seller has a listing on the market, they're motivated. So they are wanting to sell. They're not just kind of fishing to see what they can get for their house. So a lot of times buyers in the winter have a lot more leverage, because whether it's something going on in life, or a work change, or leaving the area, listings in the winter, they're looking to sell. They're not messing around. So,
and then another one that I think is actually, we talked about it a little bit on the con side, but it's also a pro, is that when you're not from here and you're not used to the amount of snow that we could get, being able to see what that driveway actually looks like in the winter and how far you have to plow to get yourself out for work, I think is a pro, because I have talked to people who have moved here, didn't really think that through. Their agent didn't explain it to them that you're buying in Rathdrum, you're in the snow belt,
it's a private drive.
You've got a half a mile of private drive before you get to the plowed road. Just things that you want to think through before you make that decision, because you're the one that's going to be living there and shoveling that every day.
We talked about some cons during the inspection period of buying in the winter. Cody, there's a couple pros too.
So a couple pros, I mean, with roof, obviously we talked about when you have snow on the roof and stuff like that, there's really no inspection on the outside. However, when you go into the attic and do an inspection, you catch a lot of leaks during the winter time because snow is constantly melting. Ice dams are happening, so you know where there might be some gutter issues taking place, things like that, which even when we get our rainy seasons in the spring and fall, you might not catch that. So that's one thing. And then also radon testing. So radon is a lot harder to test in the summertime. In the wintertime, it tends to show up more frequently at higher levels. So, if radon is a big concern of yours, which we have high radon levels in this area, and you want to get that tested, so show up in the winter, and it's just good to have that test done when it's going to show up the highest during the year. So you want to, it's just like anything, you want to be as safe as possible and know what you're buying. Yeah, and I think inspection-wise, those are probably the two big things.
Yeah, and I just go back to there's less competition. There's not as many buyers out there, and so we see, I would say, by far, way more price negotiation percentages in the winter than in the summer, because you get all the travelers, all the vacationers, a lot of investors are in town. You're going up against multiple offers in the summertime when Coeur d'Alene is just, on fire. Whereas in the winter, it's sleepy, which we love. I mean, I love the winter and it slows down.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're an active buyer looking to buy a home, it's not a bad time. It's, I think, ultimately a pro. So pros and cons, there's little things here and there. Ultimately, in working with buyers, I enjoy the winter market more because I feel like it's tilted more in favor of the buyer than the seller, and so we love working a winter market.
And we have solutions for all those cons. There's ways to take care of those things so you
can mitigate it.
Yeah,
you can make sure you got some
mitigate
insurance on it.
Yeah, a lot more competition.
And roof, like with roof, I've always, that's always probably the biggest ticket item on any inspection. It always seems to be the most sensitive item. Everybody's always aware of the roof, right? But generally speaking, if you're not getting any leaks in your roof, so if you're able to check the attic, even if when the summertime, when the roof thaws, if you have some minor, damage to shingles and things like that, that it's not actively leaking.
Yeah.
So it's not always, it's not like it's an end of the world, and we can get home warranties for clients, whether it's through the seller or us buying them, and that helps, you be protected against a lot of that stuff, because home systems go out all the time. I mean, even brand new homes.
Yep. And it's our job to negotiate on your behalf and help you get the best deal, make sure everything is taken care of, and hedge on things that you might not be able to get inspected through that process. So that's why we're here for you. We're the professionals. We help people relocate just like you all year round, a lot of times from areas that aren't familiar with snow, plowing, ice, buying snow blowers, all the random little things that you don't think of when you move to North Idaho. Boat maintenance, Cody's got you on that, and Lexi's got you on that. So reach out to us, though. We'd love to help you. Call, text, or email us, however you got to get a hold. We're happy to help you find the perfect spot in North Idaho. And until the next video, we'll see you later.